get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No.
Mario Mola, the genuine world championship contender.
I tell you right now that I believe.
The smile is
I
broad.
really do believe that something's got a hold on me here.
Victory to non-Stanford of Great Britain.
Oh, something's got a hold on me right now, child.
Alistair Brownlee wins in Leeds. A remarkable race.
I've got a feeling, I feel so
Duffy has the win in Stockholm. The leader in the World Triathlon Series standings.
I got a brand new walk. I even sound sweeter when I talk. I said, hey, yeah. Oh, it must be love. You know it walks like
Duffy is the World Triathlon Series champion for 2016. Mario Mola has won the world title.
Spring is almost here, and that means that a new triathlon season is upon us. So hello and welcome to the first event in the World Triathlon Series. While the top triathletes are sunning themselves in Abu Dhabi, I'm here in Salford Quays with former World Duathlon champion Annie Emerson, and also the brave souls who've joined us here as well from Manchester U Swim. Great place to do triathlon. I've competed in 2 of them in the waters here. We have so much to look forward to this afternoon, including all of this. It's the first opportunity to see the world's very best compete in 2017. Last year's Abu Dhabi champion Jodie Stimpson is back for Britain and looking forward to competing on the Arab States Formula One Grand Prix course. He's back and hungry for more after the disappointment of missing out on last year's Olympics. Javier Gomez is in Abu Dhabi and on the hunt for a 6th world title. But he faces stiff opposition from current world champion Mario Mola. And if the races alone aren't enough for you, we'll also be hearing from Britain's double Olympic gold medalist Alistair Brownlee on his plans for the year.
As a lifelong athlete and triathlete, just because I'm a professional athlete, it doesn't mean I don't want to do all these other things.
Before we get into all of that, let me talk you through the World Triathlon Series 2017 Wall Planner. We begin with Abu Dhabi this weekend. Next up, it's sprint races in Gold Coast on the 8th of April, a test event for next year's Commonwealth Games. From there, it's on to one of the World Series regulars, Yokohama. That'll be on Saturday, the 14th of May. Before the triathletes make a welcome return to these shores in Leeds. That'll be live on BBC Two on June the 11th. It's then over to Germany for their annual Triathlon Festival in Hamburg on the weekend of the 15th and 16th of July. Followed by a flying visit to Canada for not 1 but 2 World Series races in Edmonton and Montreal at the end of July and the beginning of August. The penultimate stop of the year is Stockholm on the 26th of August, and we end with this year's grand final in the Dutch city of Rotterdam on the 16th of September. Annie, so much to look forward to. What do you think might be your highlight at this point?
Well, it's definitely got to be Leeds. Last year was an incredible event. It's a very technical course as well, and the crowds come out literally in their thousands. And I think most importantly for the triathlon fans out there, it's probably going to be the only time that we're going to see Alistair Brownlee racing on the World Triathlon Series this year.
And also, we've got a couple of new locations as well, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. There's 2 new events on the calendar, Montreal and Rotterdam. A lot of the athletes talking about how technical those courses are going to be, so they're going to be exciting to watch as well.
Thanks, Annie. Well, if last year's grand final in Cozumel was anything to go by, we will have a really exciting year. We all know what happened in the men's race. We'll have more on that from Alistair Brownlee later. In the women's race, it came down to a pulsating finish with the Olympic champion against the underdog. And in the Mexican heat, the underdog won.
So it's the final race of the 2016 season in the heat of Cozumel.
I want to dance by water beneath the Mexican sky. Drink some margaritas by swinging blue light.
The battle for the world title begins between Jorgensen and Duffy.
Are you with me?
Flora Duffy in good shape. So we have the front group of Flora Duffy, Jessica Learmonth and Lucy Hall clear of the chase group of Gwen Jorgensen, Sarah True and Carolina Rutier. Duffy sets off in pursuit of the world title.
Are you with me?
Duffy is the World Triathlon Series champion for 2016.
You always hope and wish and train for the perfect day, and then the perfect day came exactly when I needed it.
Are you with me?
So what a brilliant year for Flora Duffy, but she's really not had a great start to this season.
No, she hasn't. And what a year 2016 was for her. She won 3 world titles. Of course, she won the World Triathlon Series. Then she went on to win the Xterra World title and the ITU Cross. Now, that is the triathlon where they take away the road bike and put in a mountain bike. But she's come into this season with a hip injury, and I think she's just managing it at the moment. That's what the coaches are saying. She doesn't want to push it too hard. You know, she's got the whole season to go, so she's decided to sit this one out. But it was a very last-minute decision for her to pull out.
And also, there's a real change up to the women's lineup, but not about injury, about actually good news.
Yeah, lots of good news out there. Gwen Jorgensen is pregnant, Helen Jenkins is pregnant, and also Nicola Spirik, who won the silver medal and who was the 2012 Olympic champion. All 3 of them are pregnant, so we won't be seeing them this year racing.
And that could have quite a change for people, presumably.
I think definitely. I think, you know, the big name, of course, is Gwen being out, because a lot of athletes will be going, OK, it's our chance now. Because when Gwen stands on the start line, everyone's going, OK, who's going for second and third? So I think there'll be a lot of athletes out there now going, hey, this is our turn, this is our chance to win.
And of course, among them, we've got 3 British athletes with a really good chance. Let's talk about Vicky Holland and Non Stanford, because they've had quite a few changes, haven't they?
Yeah, well, Vicky Holland has decided to move to Bath, and so she's completely changed her whole training setup. Let's see how that will go. It's going to be very interesting, I think, for Vicky, but I think it's a good move. And, you know, perhaps that Non and Vicky rivalry, just that separation, they've both gone their own way, doing their own thing. You know, maybe that's what they needed after the Olympic year. Non Stanford has a little bit of romance there. She's with Aaron Royal now, so she spent a lot of time in Australia training over the winter months, and now he's come back to Leeds with her, and they're both training together back where Non was based, you know, for the last couple of years.
So Vicky and Non aren't in Abu Dhabi this weekend. The leading Brit is Jodie Stimpson, and she's been in Nottingham to launch the British Triathlon Mixed Relay Cup. Really looking forward to that. It'll be on the 2nd of September. And while she was there, she caught up with the BBC's Mark Shardlow.
I had a good one in Abu Dhabi last year. I'm at a different stage of preparation, so, you know, we'll see. I've had a successful winter, you know, training's gone well, but brand new environment, new coach, so, you know, I'm excited to go out and just see where I'm at.
Yeah, talk us through that, because you have a new coach, you've been training overseas most winters for the last 8 years with the international group, and now you're based in Loughborough. Just talk us through the changes and why.
With my old coach Darren Smith, it was kind of, you know, he was finishing his group after the Olympics, and I knew that, and things, you know, I was ready for a change, and there was things missing in my training that I know that I needed to, you know, get sorted, and the best place for me was to get coached by Adam Elliott and Ben Bright, part of the British Triathlon group. So yeah, this is my first winter in the UK for quite a few years, and you know, I'll take it. I think I've been quite lucky with this winter so far. There's been a few cold rides that I'm probably not used to, but yeah, no, it's been really good. New training group, new training partners, and you know, a really young group that I'm training with, so they definitely keep me on my toes.
How do you rate Jodie's chances in Abu Dhabi, and of course the World Series as well?
I think Jodie stands a really good chance. I think she had a very difficult year last year, but I think she's highly motivated to get back to where she was in 2015 and at the beginning of the 2016 season. So I think she comes here very motivated. She's been very quiet, hasn't really wanted to divulge much information about what she's up to, but her training setup has completely changed. It's going to be really exciting to see her race, but I think, you know, we're going to see her do pretty well.
Of course, the other Brit taking part is India Lee, European champion. What about her?
India Lee's great. Yeah, she won the European Championships last year. She's trained on the swim by Richard Stannard, and she works with Nick Anderson down in Winchester. You know, she's a really, you know, she's a good athlete, solid all round, up and coming. Still got a bit of work to do on her run, but hoping that she'll place well as well in Abu Dhabi.
There is something new to look out for in this series. All the triathletes will be wearing green swimming hats, but the top 8 will have a stripe of a different colour on their hat, which should make it easier to spot them in the water. With more on that and the race, let's cross to Matt Chilton and eventually Annie Emerson.
We are enjoying the sights and sounds of Abu Dhabi, looking down on the Formula One circuit, which will play host to the bike course today. Look at the architecture in these parts, absolutely magnificent. And the swim will take place in and around the Yas Marina. So it's round 1 of the 2017 World Series. It's the course in Abu Dhabi. 2 different laps, a 900-metre course followed by a 600-metre course. Then it's time to get onto the Formula One track. Rather unique, this section of today's triathlon, where Lewis Hamilton has won 3 times. He's the most successful Formula One racer on this course, and they will ride 10 laps of around 4 kilometres each, not using the whole track, but the key elements of it before hanging up the bikes and then heading out for a 4-lap run. It's a standard Olympic distance today, so it's a 1,500-metre swim, a 40k cycle and a 10k run to complete. It's quite a truncated start list today, with Ayuede wearing number 2. We don't have a number 1 because Flora Duffy is absent. Katie Zafiris has 3, then Hewitt and Stimpson, the champion a year ago, followed by McShane, True, Klammer, Frentova, Kasper and Abrosimova. The 2017 World Triathlon Series gets underway in Abu Dhabi. Warm, calm conditions. And they're racing. We can expect some good swimming pace from Jodie Stimpson. She'll be wearing number 5. They've altered the swim cap arrangements this year, so they wear green caps with really large numbers on, and so they should, in theory, be a little bit more straightforward to identify.
It's a much smaller field here today than what we're normally used to, with just 30 athletes on the start line, and that really does change the swim, because some of those weaker swimmers are going to get left behind because there's going to be fewer feet to jump onto and get a good draft from.
To Routier's right is Summer Cook, and I think Cook possibly has the edge on Routier in the early stages here. Not far behind is Anastasia Abrosimova, wearing number 11. She's in 3rd place at this stage, and these 3 have opened up a slight gap on the rest of the field.
Yeah, they certainly have Summer Cook there, a really interesting athlete. I did notice a tweet from about 5 days ago where she said she was scraping the ice off her car. So how adapted she's going to be to these conditions here in Abu Dhabi. Very, very warm indeed. We'll just have to see as the race pans out. But a lot of potential has the young American athlete.
We haven't yet had a sighting of either of the 2 British contenders, Jodie Stimpson, who's the defending champion, who wears number 5, or India Lee, who wears 29, but we will assume that they aren't too far off the pace here as they now continue out towards the next of the upright orange buoys to make a left-handed turn and begin the progression back towards the protection of Yas Marina.
Yeah, it looks to me like there's a 4th athlete just joining the bunch, but what she's doing is she's kind of bringing up the main bunch towards the top 3 here. But number 14 there, Summer Cook, continuing to increase the pace. Carolina Routier working hard to stay on her feet. But the dynamics here are going to be interesting, because once they get out onto the bike course, 10 laps of 4 kilometres, and Gwen Jorgensen has tweeted that it's a really tough course. You're going to have a good, strong bike pack to work with to really be able to get ahead. We can see there now there's a definite gap around about 5 metres from those 4 athletes and the main pack.
Routier has just edged past Summer Cook. She's determined to be the first one out of the water. It's a familiar pattern for Carolina Routier. Likes to be the quickest in the water. Summer Cook made the pace for most of this swim, but I think it will be Routier leading them out. As they exit the water after 900 metres with a shortened second lap of 600 to go, we'll get a check on the standings and a catch-up on exactly who's positioned where. So, Routier first out, 11 minutes and 26 seconds, followed by Cook and Abrosimova. Next out should be Zafiris, and it is in 4th position. And then Sarah True isn't far off the pace, coming out of the water in 5th. Yuri Ide is there as well. Alice Beto is out of the water in 6th. Kirsten Kasper and Gillian Backhouse, then Village and Takahashi as the leaders dive back in to start the shortened second lap. Jodie Stimpson a little way off the pace right now, 24 seconds down, with India Lee a further 12 seconds removed. 600-metre lap remaining.
Yeah, time now to really concentrate for some of these athletes that have lost a bit of time. Stimpson, you know, still well up there, under 30 seconds behind. And India Lee, for me, not having a bad swim. She definitely finds it the most stressful part of triathlon.
So the Spaniard, the American and the Russian, with a gap then to another one of the Americans, Katie Zafiris, who's rather alone in 4th position now. And the first stage is almost done for Carolina Routier. No wind in here to speak of. It's nice clean water behind, but Summer Cook has matched her.
She's right on the toes of Carolina Routier, so really maximising the draft that she's getting from her.
And it looks like Zafiris has managed to close the gap slightly in the latter stages of the swim. That's a good final push from Katie Zafiris, and therefore I think it's likely that we will see a group of 5 form on lap 1 as they head from the Yas Marina to the Yas Formula 1 motor circuit. So the end of the swim, 19 minutes and about 5 or 6 seconds, and Routier's hands hit the deck and she lifts her goggles and makes her way towards transition. Cook stumbles slightly as she finds her feet on terra firma. Anastasia Abrosimova comes out 3 seconds later. A slightly wobbly looking Katie Zafiris exits with the other American, Sarah True. Good final push from Sarah True. 5 of them on their way to transition. Another stumble, that time from one of the Italians, Slippery, coming out of the water. Beto was out 6th. Another Americans everywhere. Kasper's out in 7th, and Backhouse and Yuri Ide. And then Yuko Takahashi comes out of the water in 10th. 32 seconds off the pace, and we'll look for the first of the Union flags. Klammer and Village, and Stimpson's out in 40 seconds. So they've got to get this bit right. Everything has to be done according to the rules. Jodie Stimpson, the defending champion here in Abu Dhabi, arrives, clips up her bike helmet, and then pushes her bike towards the mount line, with Andrea Hewitt not too far behind. And they're on their way now onto the Yas Formula 1 motor circuit, the Yas Marina circuit. India Lee has not yet arrived in transition to pick up her bike, so India Lee, the second of the British triathletes involved today, has a lot of work to do. These triathletes know they've got to work hard, perhaps form a working pack, communicate, and get some tactics together to close the gap down to this leading group of 5. That's what we expected, and 5 have formed on the Formula 1 circuit. Let's see how much damage they can do now. 3 Americans, Zafiris, True and Abrosimova, Cook and Routier, about to be joined by the next group of 3. That's expected, and 5 becomes 8. And it's Katie Zafiris, the American, who's officially first across the line, joined by Beto, Backhouse, Cook. We know that Sarah True, Carolina Routier and Abrosimova are also in that group. Jodie Stimpson is 21 seconds back. So when she came out of the water, Stimpson was 40 seconds behind. She's already halved that deficit. Good work on the first lap by Jodie Stimpson, who crosses transition 20 seconds or so off the pace.
Yeah, I think Jodie's really got a big point to prove. She had such disappointment, as everyone knows about, not making the Olympic team. And she's had many changes to her training setup. She's moved away from Darren Smith and the D squad. She's based herself in Loughborough at the main performance centre and under the watchful eye of Ben Bright. And I think she said she's made a lot of changes. Well, this is interesting because it looks to me like some of the athletes have dropped off from the front pack, which is very surprising. Jodie Stimpson driving this second pack here now. It looks to me like the front pack have managed to spit out 2 or 3 athletes, and that's really only going to help this chase pack cause. We can see there Carolina Routier, and I think it's Abrissimova, have been dropped from that first pack.
Yeah, Routier, we know, has frailties on the bike. Swim is absolutely exemplary, but she's been unable to match this pace in the early stages of the 40k ride. So Routier is going backwards now, and so that front group has been whittled down to just 6 triathletes. Now the lead group to the chasers, not much has changed, although there is a certain surge from the front of that lead group as they come to this hairpin. There was a real burst of acceleration from the front of that chase group, and that group of 6 who lead this contest will shortly be reeled in by the group that does contain Jodie Stimpson, who was the winner here 12 months ago.
Yeah, really great to see Jodie Stimpson back injury-free, racing hard. She started the 2016 with such promise, winning the World Cup in Mooloolaba, then coming to Abu Dhabi and beating Helen Jenkins. And here we go now. She's just about on the wheel of the lead pack.
Yeah, Stimpson's leading the charge here. She's controlling her move up through the field. I make that 14 now in the front group, with Jodie Stimpson having done the hard work. 21 seconds at the end of lap 1, 14 seconds at the end of lap 2, midway through lap 3. Stimpson got it done, joined the front pack, and is now getting involved in the communication and control at the head of the field here. Andrea Hewitt, another one of the vastly experienced athletes, 34 years of age. Became a really good swimmer at the age of 4. At 11 became a surf lifesaver, and eventually took up triathlon in 2005 and has been up there racing in the elite for the last 7 or 8 years. Sadly for Andrea Hewitt, she was engaged to Laurent Vidal, who finished in the top 5 in the London Olympic triathlon in 2012, but suffered a fatal heart attack a couple of years later. And Hewitt continued to race on the circuit and is certainly not out of contention in 2017. So an overhead graphic showing you that they are approaching mid-distance on this cycle leg with 25.2 kilometres still to ride. And Stimpson is looking really relaxed and controlled, currently in second position of this group of 10 right now, as they come over the flagstones again after 47 minutes since this race began with the 1500-metre swim. The end of lap 4. Katie Zafiris, Jodie Stimpson and Kirsten Kasper are the first 3 to cross the line, followed by Backhouse, Hewitt and Klammer. Then Charlotte McShane and Sarah Village. Takahashi and Beto complete the front group of 10 triathletes. 6 to go.
Looks to me like India Lee's group is going to join up now with the 3 athletes that were in the front pack only just about half a circuit ago.
Yeah, Summer Cook, there she is, leading that trio through. Was with the leaders for a while. A tweet in from Helen Jenkins, former world champion, twice a world champion, and she's noticed that she believes Stimpson's training has been well executed. Looks like the best rider on the course today, Jodie Stimpson. That's just coming on social media from Helen Jenkins, who's sitting the season out to start a family.
Yeah, what a great story. Lovely people, Helen Jenkins and Mark Jenkins. Helen having a tough race in Rio, but came back really strongly to finish 4th in the final race in Cozumel. I wonder if we'll see her back racing in a year or two's time, like Nicola Spirik has done. Had a baby after London Olympics, came back and got a silver medal in Rio, and is now pregnant with her second child.
The end of lap 7, 7 down, 3 to go. We'll get a full list of who's where. And it is Backhouse who is officially first. Stimpson right in there still with Hewitt and Village and Beto, McShane, Klarmer, Rachel Klarmer. Haven't seen much of Klarmer. She's been hiding out of trouble towards the back of the group.
Rachel Klarmer, for me, one of the stronger riders in that lead pack.
Yeah, finished last season in 11th position at the end of the World Triathlon Series. 43rd World Triathlon Series start for Expo. We've got one down, we've got 2 down. Chase group coming in towards the transition, and we got mechanical issues here which may not get fixed for Emi Chamareron from France. She's trying to fix her own bike, pick up her water bottles. A few of them are left scattered. The chain's off as well now.
Yeah, not good news. Let's have a look.
So coming in, Chamareron lost the grip on her rear wheel and took out Yolanda Annan of Switzerland behind her, and the two of them came crashing to the ground. So the cycle is almost done. 40 kilometres on the motor circuit of the Yas Marina Formula One course is just about behind them. An hour and 27 minutes since the triathlon began with a 1,500 metre swim. They're about to conclude stage 2, and then it comes down to the 10k run on a new course, 4 2.5 kilometre circuits to conclude this World Triathlon Series today. At the dismount line, Stimpson hits it first with Backhouse and Village also right up there, and now they hit the carpet, off the cobbles and onto the more comfortable carpet, looking out for their parking stations here in transition. Jodie Stimpson, the defending champion, arrives and goes to work. Right shoe has gone on, left shoe there. Andrea Hewitt in and out of transition quickly as well, but it's Zafiris, who struggled slightly with the demands of transition, wasn't as quick in and out as some of the others. And Beto, I think, last to rise of that lead group. And she's going to have to try and track them down as quickly as she can. So the next group, led in by Rebecca Spencer, they are now only 45 seconds off the pace. And India Lee is within this group. The second of the British triathletes is 47, 8, 9 seconds thereabouts off the pace of the leaders. And this group, crucially, contains Ayueda, who's one of the better runners. So transition for the chase group is complete, and they strike out to begin lap 1 of 4. And there's Ayueda, straight into her stride and off in search of the leaders.
She always looks incredibly relaxed. She always has a sort of, I don't know if it's a smile, but she seems to enjoy her running so much that she seems to have a smile on her face. Looks like she's really enjoying it. Charlotte McShane there, just one of the last runners going out from the lead pack, and Safiris, who for some reason always manages to slightly fluff her transition.
Ayueda's making a quest to claw her way up through the field. Ayueda third in the World Series last year. This ragged running style of hers, but explosive at the same time.
Yeah, very effective. Love to watch her run. Looks so relaxed. Funny little action there with her hands, but very, very effective. And she's already, looks to me like she's catching one of the back runners, isn't she there? That's Alice Beto from Italy. She's already on the heels of Alice Beto. Alice Beto going out around about 45 seconds ahead of Ayueda, and we haven't even done 2.5 kilometres yet.
As they complete lap 1, Klarmer, Stimpson, Village and Hewitt have so far been out in action for 1 hour, 36 minutes and 37 seconds. Lap 1 is complete. 3 laps to go on this 10,000 metre run. Stimpson of Great Britain, Klarmer of the Netherlands, Hewitt of New Zealand and Village of Austria.
Well, there you go. She put 20 seconds into them in that first lap, and doing the maths, there's 4 laps to go. She could be sort of 3 laps to go. They're out on their 3rd lap. They've done 1. She could be well ahead by the end. She's absolutely flying. She looks completely different to the other athletes. Looks like she's in a 5K track race at the moment.
Back at the front, Hewitt, Stimpson, Klammer and Village are out into the daylight. And the chase group, which currently comprises Takahashi and Backhouse, are 6 seconds removed as Stimpson climbs and pushes and seems to inject a little bit of extra pace into the race. Meanwhile, Ayueda continues her march up through the field. And she's 26 seconds off the pace now, and we are not quite halfway through the 10,000 metre run. So still an awful lot to ask of Ayueda to reduce that 26-second margin.
It is. I think, you know, she would have gone out of transition probably quite happy with where she found herself. The only question is, has she gone too fast too early, and, you know, is she going to blow in these warm conditions?
5.74 Ks left to run, and the pace has been pretty relentless so far. The one who seems to be feeling it is Rachel Klammer. She just showed a little sign of having to work harder than she was beforehand. Hand down went down onto her midriff there. I don't know if that was a sign of some sort of problem, but Stimpson's been out in front pretty much since they left transition, and she, as she has done since she left the water, has been dictating the pace of this contest so far.
The camera angle always is a little bit deceptive, isn't it, I think, but Ayueda certainly at the moment, she's clawing back these athletes, just about to get onto the heels of Gillian Backhouse by the looks of things. Klammer there still struggling. I think, you know, we can say now about 3-4 metres between her and Village, so that stitch, I think, taking its toll.
So 4 has become 3. Rachel Klammer has been dropped in pain as they complete lap 2 after an hour and 45 minutes and 37 seconds, halfway through the run. Hewitt, Stimpson and Village, the leading trio. 2 down, 2 to go. 5 Ks down, 5 Ks to run. And Rachel Klammer crosses a further 4 seconds behind.
And it's all very deceptive, because there we have it. By the looks of things, I think Ayueda, unless we've missed her. There she is, 37 seconds. She's actually dropped time. Village, the young athlete from Austria, former world under-23 aquathlon champion, having the race of her life here.
Austrians with a good history in the sport. Kate Allen from Austria was the Olympic triathlon champion in 2004.
Yeah, nothing. She was. She came from absolutely nowhere on the run and ran past the great Loretta Harrop from Australia in the closing stages of the run. Jodie Stimpson now, I think running downhill skills are good, because she seems to pull away a little bit, perhaps that slightly longer leg. And it is a bit of a skill running downhill and uphill and running, but Jodie Stimpson just getting the better of them going down that hill. Ayueda now just about to pick up these 2 back markers from the front pack.
No one has decided to take on this race and kick for a lead. Will that happen in the early stages of the final lap? Well, the final lap is about to unfold as they take the turn and find their way onto the carpet. A little glance round for Jodie Stimpson, just sizing up the opposition and sorting out in her mind her timing, if and when she'll strike for the outright lead here. But she's in good company, because Hewitt and Village are in contention. There's no doubt about it. Jodie Stimpson, Andrea Hewitt and Sarah Village look like they will be taking the podium places today. But in what order? Jodie Stimpson of Great Britain, Andrea Hewitt of New Zealand and Sarah Village of Austria. 3 of them literally separated by a metre as Hewitt draws alongside Jodie Stimpson and lets the British triathlete know that she's there and she is in the hunt for the win. And I think it was a little while before Stimpson noticed that she had company right at the front, and Village hasn't gone away either. Village is right on the shoulder. The pace is raising again. Less than 400 metres to run, and we could have a race for the line between three. Often we have two going for gold, but a race between three potentially for top honours in Abu Dhabi, as Stimpson and Hewitt are shoulder to shoulder now.
Yeah, but I cannot call it now. I thought Stimpson was going to go a little bit early, but it looks to me they're going to wait until the very last moment, keep us right on the edge of the seat. You just can't call it, but at the moment, Jodie Stimpson, Andrea Hewitt, Village just behind.
Hewitt is just edging ahead, and then Stimpson reels her back in. And Village hasn't moved. She is keeping pace with the leading two. Step for step, Village is right in there still. A three-way sprint finish could be about to unfold here. The winning time a year ago, 1 hour 56 minutes for Jodie Stimpson. The new course has added more than 7 minutes to the whatever the winning time will be today. 2 hours and 3 minutes since this race began, and we're nowhere nearer knowing who's going to take the opening race of the season. It's going to be a three-way sprint. Stimpson of Great Britain injects a little bit of pace and moves clear of Hewitt, but Hewitt's not beaten yet. Hewitt has responded. Oh, and Hewitt's not giving up on this as Stimpson goes slightly further in front, and Stimpson might have just injected the final race-winning element of pace. Hewitt's head is rocking from side to side. I'm not sure that Hewitt can get back on terms with Stimpson, who's looking to win this race 2 years in a row, but Hewitt is throwing everything at it. Hewitt's back in front, and Hewitt is going to win for New Zealand. What a fight back from Andrea Hewitt. A quite remarkable comeback to win in Abu Dhabi. Jodie Stimpson finishes in second, and it's a podium for Sarah Village of Austria. An extraordinary end to a wonderful race in Abu Dhabi. Rachel Klammer will come home for fourth. The stitch that she picked up on lap 2 put paid to her chances of getting on the podium here. And fourth place for Rachel Klammer. What a conclusion to this World Triathlon Series race in Abu Dhabi. A quite remarkable fight back for Andrea Hewitt. And Ayueda, who was so far off the pace after she got off her bike, has clawed her way back into 5th position. Gillian Backhouse crosses the line to take 6th for Australia, to be followed by the best of the Americans. Well, these triathlons, they keep giving us these extraordinary finishes. Drama and incident every time the World Triathlon Series races come together. Andrea Hewitt wins the first race of the new season in Abu Dhabi in a sprint finish with Jodie Stimpson, with Sarah Village finishing 3rd for Austria. And India Lee finished in 16th position.
It was an amazing race for me. It's amazing to come here to Abu Dhabi. Last year I know #1 spot was dedicated to Laurent, and this year my win definitely I'm dedicating this to Laurent. I raced 2 weeks ago, my first race of this year in Antigua, and I won there with David Haas, and I knew I was coming here really fit. Laurent always told me that I had everything. I had the dedication, I had the integrity, I had talent. But he told me one thing I was missing, which was emotion, and I didn't show it a lot of the time. And now definitely I have that. And I know since 1 year I've always had, I have to say thank you to Maddie Dillon. She's been beside me for 1 year and she knows exactly what I've been going through, and my friends, my family. I want to thank everyone.
I'm just ecstatic me and Andrea both got on the podium, because the amount of work that we did like all day, if I was going to lose to a sprint finish, I'm glad it was Andrea today.
Well, I was going to say that to you, but I mean, you did some fabulous work on the bike, because I think you were about 40 seconds adrift out of the water, and you cut that gap after about 3 laps, I think.
Yeah, definitely, and my coach will be extremely happy about that, because he did say that if you're behind in the swim, don't try and catch it on the first lap, give yourself 3, so that's 3. So, Adam, there you go.
I can't believe it, it's crazy. Such a nice feeling. I think I'm going to realise it tomorrow, but no, it's incredible. I was training so hard and I'm just so happy that it paid off now. I was feeling really good on the swim already. On the bike it was just good. I like those technical courses, so I guess it fits me. And then on the run I was just thinking from the beginning I felt good. I was afraid that they actually started slow and going to increase, but I could keep on, and I'm just delighted. I'm happy.
Annie, what an incredible race for Sarah Village.
Yeah, you know, an amazing race for the young Austrian. I don't think anyone could have called it at the beginning of the day, but she executed the most perfect race, you know. And when it came down to the run, you know, I kind of feel really bad, but I just thought, oh, she'll hang on for a kilometre, she'll hang on for 2. And there she was, right at the end with 50 metres to go. A phenomenal race. And after that performance, I think we're going to see quite a bit more of her this season.
She was dogged, wasn't she? Andrea Hewitt, I mean, just... And Jodie, what an extraordinary, exciting finish.
Wow, it was amazing. You know, it had been a pretty steady ride up until that point. You know, Andrea and Jodie had done a huge amount of the work, and so when it came down to that sprint finish between the two of them, you thought, hey, these girls deserve this. But we thought Jodie had it. I was totally convinced. You know, by that stage she had about 5 steps in front of Hewitt, but I think Hewitt summed it up at the end. You know, she said that her boyfriend Lauren Vidal, who sadly passed away a couple of years ago, said she lacked emotion. Well, she certainly found it on that home straight, didn't she?
Oh, she did, and so emotional at the end as well.
Big smiles from her as well before the emotion came out. I think she was very relieved, and for an athlete that's so consistent and so strong, she actually hadn't been on the top of the podium since 2011. So really a bit of a sort of breakthrough race for Andrea.
Tell us about Jodie, because to lose on the line is tough, but also in some ways a great result for her too.
Do you know what? I think she'll be kicking herself, because I think initially she was probably like, I've done it. You know, I've put this race together after the disappointment of 2016. You know, I've made it on the podium, but I think she'll be kicking herself afterwards because, you know, she needed a little bit more on the sprint. But, you know, I don't even think Andrea realised that she had what she had left in her legs, and Jodie certainly didn't.
So the 2017 season is underway. Just 98 days until the World Series circus hits British shores. There's no doubt who was the star of the show in Leeds last year, Alistair Brownlee, and it's likely that he will be again this year. It's his only as yet confirmed appearance in the World Triathlon Series. So after such an amazing 2016, where do you go next? Tom Fordyce has been speaking to Alistair Brownlee.
It will be a glorious golden double for Alistair Brownlee, the Olympic triathlon champion for the 2nd time.
It's nice to move on from 2016, obviously, with the Olympics, as is the big thing in triathlon, and to go through that really, well, twice or 3 times now. It's nice to kind of draw a line under that again and move on.
Dramatic scenes in Cozumel as the Olympic champion carries his younger brother towards the podium. The Brownlee brothers arm in arm. Alistair is having to drag him across the line and pushing him home.
Nice to move on from everything that happened in Cozumel, although I'm not letting Johnny forget it, obviously. You know, I've got a few goals as we look to longer stuff, you know, half Ironman kind of distance to try that, and the World Championships are in September, so you know that's an obvious goal, another thing to try and achieve. And I still want to keep my foot in the door of racing at World Series as well. So
so you're fudging it basically.
yeah, true, yeah, a mixture of both without committing to anything. So Leeds is the obvious World Series that I want to perform at, really.
Alistair Brownlee wins in Leeds. A remarkable race.
So for people who don't know what Half Ironman is, it's further than we used to see you racing over, but it's not dramatically further, is it? An extra 200 metres on the swim, 60 miles on the bike. The run's the big one, isn't it?
It's about double, really.
Yeah.
Although the swim's not quite double, but obviously it's a very different kind of racing. So instead of like fast, furious Olympic distance racing, it's about an hour 45. It's over the best part of 4 hours, really. Yeah, so that means it's a bit slower, a bit more of a controlled effort, and something a bit different. And although it's very different to the Olympic aspect of the sport, for someone who's always done triathlon, you know, looking at long distance and especially the Ironman racing in Kona has got to be one of those things that you always want to do. You know, it's, I don't know, it's like the London or Boston Marathon of triathlon, really, isn't it? So as a lifelong fan of the sport, it's something that's always going to be on the bucket list.
And why did you want to make the change? Because people might look from the outside and think, OK, you've won 2 Olympic golds, you're clearly the best in the world at that. Why not stick with it?
Just because I'm a professional athlete, it doesn't mean I don't want to do all these other things, and I really do. And I think now gives me a great opportunity to try slightly other things, and without necessarily hurting my chances, I don't feel, if that's what I want to do, and I feel I'm capable of doing it in 4 years in Tokyo.
Would you have been bored if you'd stuck with standard distance?
Possibly I would have been bored. The World Series is fantastic and you race in some great places around the world, but it is the same kind of racing, either Olympic or standard distance, sprint distance racing, basically against the same people for the last 10 years. and yeah, I think it's just important to have a slightly different, not necessarily outlook, but different goals, different way of training, and mix it up.
If it goes really well, is there a chance that we'll never see you at an Olympic Games again?
I guess there's a chance I could never be at Olympic Games again. To sit here and say I'll definitely never do it is impossible. You know, I think the Olympic Games is just fantastic, and I'd definitely love to be there. The course in Tokyo is going to play a big part in, you know, whether I feel I can go there and win, I guess, whether the relay's in it, you know. I think, you know, the potential that there's 2 medals on the line, that could potentially play a part. It's going to be that case of sitting down, I think probably at the end of 2018, and weighing it up. Am I enjoying the longer distance stuff? Do I still feel like I can be competitive to win a medal in Tokyo? How I achieve what I want to achieve in the long distance, and I'm happy with that, is what motivates me. The short distance stuff, I think I'm going to have to see then, and really decide what I want to do.
The return of World Series this weekend, who are favourites?
As far as the men's is concerned, we've got Javier Gomez, who is returning from a major injury last year, and although I've got no doubt he'll be in great shape, that is a bit of an unknown, as he's not getting any younger either. That throws it wide open in terms of people, with obviously Mario Mola winning it last year. I think Johnny should be right up there and be competitive if, with a bit of luck and a fair wind. But I can't see past probably those 3 being on the podium, with the potential of, maybe Murray thrown in there.
Going back to Gomez, who's been such a rival for you down the years, did it take anything at all off your gold in Rio that he wasn't there?
It definitely did take a bit. You want to be there on the best day in your best shape, and being able to race the best athletes in their best shape. And I think we were fortunate definitely to have that in London. And it would have been fantastic to have that in Rio as well. But what happened. I think, we spoke about it a bit. He had a lot of luck in the World Series that I didn't necessarily have, and then didn't have the luck for the Olympics, and I had that. But I think on that day, on that course, I'm fairly confident I would have had him anyway.
Just great to hear from the double Olympic champion. Do you understand from his point of view at this stage that he wants to move up?
Oh, absolutely. You know, Alistair needs a new challenge now. You know, he's two-time Olympic champion and he's looking for new goals and new challenges. So for me, you know, I think it's a real natural progression for him.
And as an athlete, does it help? Does it add interest by mixing things up a bit?
Yeah, definitely. You know, his training will change. You know, I think the amount of training he does, you know, right now, I mean, I don't know his whole training routine, but I'm sure he's more than capable of doing an Ironman now, but his training will change. You know, he's going to have to run a really hard and fast marathon off the back of 180 kilometres. So the training is going to have to change a bit, but I think Alistair has stated, you know, that he's really up for the challenge and it's something he'd really like to try.
And we will miss him a bit in the World Series?
Oh, we will. You know, I think, you know, a lot of the guys will, well, some guys won't miss him, but a lot of the guys will miss him in the bike pack because he certainly gets everyone sort of rallying and working really hard, and he makes the races exciting. So, you know, he's going to be sorely missed this year.
You can always see him chatting away, can't you? What about Gomez? He's back, which is great news.
Oh, it's fantastic news. You know, I think a lot of triathlon fans out there thought we might not see him again after the disappointment of 2016. And, you know, he's kind of heading towards mid-30s now, but actually he's bounced right back, and I think he's as hungry as ever to go out there and race.
Alistair talked about, didn't he, Gomez, Mola, of course Jonathan Brownlee, them all being in contention, and Jonathan's got an injury.
Yeah, Jonathan's picked up a little sort of a tendon injury. It's not a running injury. It's to do with the bike position. You know, I think they're confident that they'll knock it on the head pretty quickly. But I think it was, you know, sensible for him to sort of, you know, decide to put off his racing till a little bit later on in the season.
We can always have surprises, but would you put those as the top three?
Yeah, I think we're looking at Gomez definitely. You know, as long as he stays injury-free, I think he's going to be a huge contender. Mola, without a doubt, you know, a great racer. You know, but disappointing for him in Rio, but he bounced back in Cozumel and took the world title. So I think we'll see Mola. And Johnny, once he's in good shape and over this injury, I expect that we'll see him back to his winning ways.
Well, as Annie said, there's no Johnny in Abu Dhabi, but there is still a stellar lineup in the men's race. We saw the new swimming hats make their debut in the women's race, and Annie has given us a guide as to who is wearing what in the men's race.
Beginning his defence of his world title and wearing number 1 is Spain's Mario Mola. Mario hails from Mallorca along with tennis ace Rafa Nadal and is engaged to fellow triathlete Carolina Routier. Henry Schoeman had a standout 2016, winning the grand final race in Cozumel and bronze in Rio.
As Henry Schoeman finishes in third to win South Africa's first ever triathlon medal.
With no confirmation of what his dad and coach Joe makes of his hair, which he has dyed blonde for the 2017 season. Richard Murray earned himself a bad boy reputation after being disqualified in Hamburg last year. He started this season off on the right foot though, winning the first World Cup last month in Cape Town. Adam Bowden finished 2016 as the second highest ranked British triathlete behind Johnny Brownlee. The 34-year-old has moved to Wales in the off-season and is pretty in pink in Abu Dhabi, sporting the number 7. This is the Spanish triathlon legend's first World Series race since he broke his elbow last June. 2016 may have ended up in disappointment for Gomez, but there was still some consolation as he was awarded the highest honour in Spanish sport, the Princess of Asturias Award.
We've talked about Gomez. Let's have a little bit of chat about Mario Mola. So world champion last year, and they have a good rivalry, would you say?
Yeah, I think that Mario Mola has a great deal of respect for Gomez, and I think he still sees him as the guy to beat, most definitely, even though he won the World Championships last year, because of course Gomez was out injured.
And will you be happy to have him back in racing this year, do you think?
Do you know what? I think that the real athletes out there are really happy to have, you know, the strongest guys there, because they feel that when they compete and they win, you know, they really deserve it and they've beaten the best in the world. So I think on the whole, you know, the guys will be happy that Gomez is back. You know, Mario Mola will certainly be happy to have him back on the start line.
And we've got Brits involved. Who are you looking out for?
Well, we've got, you know, three younger guys, Adam Bowden, of course, and we've got Tom Bishop. You know, he's a great athlete. He's been around for a few years, but he's only 25, very strong on the swim and on the bike, but has yet to sort of bring his run up to standard. So let's see what his training's been doing over the winter. And Grant Sheldon and Mark Austin, the two Scottish guys as well, both very strong athletes, but relatively new to the sport.
And it'll be interesting what they can do without the Brownlees there.
Yeah, I think, the guys are coming into this saying, OK, we're not going to try and, perhaps live up or, replace them. But I think, it's their turn to go out and, really prove themselves.
Looking forward to the race. I know you're heading back to the commentary box, and I'm going to hand you over to Matt Chilton for the men's race.
Here's the start list for round one. Mario Mola has won as the world champion. Fernando Alaza 2, then Schoeman and Murray, the 2 South Africans. Grajales of Mexico, Lacour of France. The first of the British quartet is Adam Bowden with number 7. Christian Blumenfeld wears number 8, ahead of Joao Pereira and Aurélien Raphael, who is likely to feature strongly in the swim, the Frenchman. Tom Bishop starts with 22 for Great Britain. Grant Sheldon has 27. And the last of the British quartet on the start list will be Mark Austin. And Austin today, the 23-year-old, has number 51. The 2017 World Triathlon Series for the men is about to get underway in Abu Dhabi. Breezy conditions for the start, a spectacular dive start. They'll exit the water once at the end of the long lap, which takes them out of the marina before they turn and head back in, exiting the water, running along the pontoon, diving back in, and swimming the second shorter lap of 500 metres. So it's a 900-metre lap to start with, a 500-metre lap to conclude. And Annie, I guess we'll see the usual suspects out in front in the water.
Well, it's going to be interesting, I think, because Schoeman we'd normally see up front, and he's got Richard Murray, his teammate, racing as well. He obviously beat him to the last medal position in the Olympics, taking bronze medal. Richard Murray finishing in 4th, but Richard Murray actually got the better of him at the World Cup race in Cape Town just a couple of weeks ago. But I sense that Schoeman's going to want to put the pressure on really early on in the water. Murray, not known so much for his swimming, more his biking and running skills. But yeah, expect to see Schoeman up there, Gomez as well, and Raphael from France, I think, will be heading the way.
Now, these green swim caps have made it a little more straightforward for us to pinpoint the athletes. I would think that that may well be Aurélien Raphael. And indeed it is. It's the Frenchman, number 10. He's regularly one of the fastest men in the water, and he's starting on that swimmer's right side of the Yas Marina. Got a bit of shelter from the sea wall there, and he is leading them through. And I think he's got one of the Russians, Igor Polyansky, just behind him in second position. So it's Aurélien Raphael leading the early stages of the swim, with some curious spectators looking down from the dock.
It's interesting how they've all come together. I think for people that are new to triathlon, you look at the pontoon, which is about 70 metres long. There's 50 athletes spread out, and you think, how are they all going to sort of head out into the same direction? But they all do. Gomez started very, very wide left on the pontoon, and Raphael from France on the right. They're just about to all come together, but Raphael really hugging the wall there.
So Aurélien Raphael of France leads Polyansky of Russia. You can see the collection of boats and kayaks. Now things will get a little more interesting, because they'll lose the shelter of the safety of the marina, and it is quite a breezy day. There's a bit of chop on the surface of the water, and so they'll have to keep an eye on things and make sure they don't drift off in one direction or another as the breeze hits them just about here, where the protection of the seawall disappears. Out into open water now for Aurélien Raphael. Just to remind you, today is a full Olympic distance triathlon. So it's a 1,500-metre swim to be followed by a 40k bike on the motor circuit, the Formula One circuit, and then a 10,000-metre run to conclude. There are various sprint races taking place this season, but we kick off, rightly so, with a full Olympic distance. Here we go, and it will be Aurélien Raphael to get out of the water first. Raphael of France. We'll get a check on exactly who's where and follow the British triathletes here. Lacour is second, then Schoeman and Igor Polyansky, followed by his brother. Then Jonas Schomburg and Ben Canute, the first of the Americans. Van der Stel is next. Knabel, Vian Sulvout of South Africa. Tom Bishop is just behind Vincent Louis. Mark Austin is just behind Javier Gomez. Christian Blumenfeld is through. And we'll keep an eye on the remaining British triathlete, which I think should be Grant Sheldon coming out, but we haven't stayed long enough on that graphic. So with the shorter lap to follow, some are already well on their way for the second lap, whilst others are yet to leave the water.
Yeah, some big gaps, and just seeing Mario Mola coming out of the water there along with Alaza, so they're a little way back at the moment. Just seeing Mola diving in now, so they've got some work to do, that's for sure. And the swim is really spread out. You normally get a bit of a train, so some of the athletes around about 20-30 seconds back can hang on, but these athletes diving back in the water now, they're around about a minute down.
Yeah, so Mario Mola is further back than he might have expected. Well, the field is well and truly spread now as the first stage of today's full Olympic distance triathlon. Round one of the 2017 World Triathlon Series reaches its conclusion. And as usual, it's been the Frenchman, Aurélien Raphael, the 28-year-old, who has led them pretty much from pillar to post. He's got Henry Skuman for company, and both the Polyansky brothers, the two Russians. Igor is the younger of the two at 27, Dmitry the older at 30 years of age. And it's Raphael now who leads them towards the exit. They'll go up that ramp for the second and final time. You can see the blue pontoon ramp, which will raise them up towards the carpet that takes them zigzagging around the outbuildings and into transition where the bikes await. 18 minutes and 24 seconds for the swim. Aurélien Raphael back on his feet and heading towards his bike, followed by Skuman and Igor Polyansky, then Pierre Lecour and Ben Canute. Dmitry Polyansky's next. Mark Austin, the first of the British triathletes out of the water, followed by Jonas Schomburg, Alois Knabel and Vincent Louis. He's in good shape, the Frenchman, making his comeback. Tom Bishop has clawed his way back up through the field. And Andreas Salvesberg is out in 17th position. We are likely to see a sizable pack forming at the front of the field. It could be a huge pack, actually, with the numbers that are arriving towards transition now. Dorian Connings coming in for France. And there the bikes await, lined up, that have memorised their way through at this point. They've got to get everything right here. No wetsuits to take off, of course, so the transition process will be quicker than during a wetsuit race, but the helmets have got to be clipped up. The shoes are weight attached to the pedals, and away they go. And this bike involves 10 laps around the Formula One motor circuit. And it begins with a run down through the pit tunnel in front of the Viceroy Hotel. They'll go down, pick up their bikes. Is that Crisanto Grajales? Had a good race here a year ago. And a long stream of riders who will eventually come together and form a working group. And one or two have been left off the back. You can see bottom left of your screen. We'll hope to join in the fun shortly.
Yeah, 25 athletes by the looks of things in, well, there's Fernando Alaza now, ranked number 2. He's only just going now. He's going to struggle to get onto that front pack, and I think that's João Pereira and Mola as well just heading out, so they're off the pace because there's 25 of them around about 400 metres down the road now.
Vincent Louis, the Frenchman, just letting the others come through. He's taken up the role of Commander-in-Chief here, Vincent Louis, the job normally given to Alistair Brownlee, shouting instructions. He's drifting from front to the middle of the pack and then towards the back, letting everybody know what's required and making sure that nobody's slacking.
Yeah, well, you've got to get someone to do it, because otherwise they're just going to roll round playing sort of cat and mouse, and they're going to give the chase pack every chance to get back on. At the moment, they're not in sight. Around about 16, 17 athletes in this front pack, but they're all really spread out at the moment. I think it's difficult on these wide roads really to get momentum. Now we can see that little chase pack, 5 of them in there. They're around about 20 seconds down.
Second lap of 4 kilometres well underway, and that's the Mola group. The Mola group comprises 10 or so, with Richard Murray involved as well. So 2 of the strongest runners in this pack, Mario Mola and Richard Murray, one at the front, one at the back. And they are endeavouring now to close down the leaders. The white dot represents the leaders. The blue dot is 54 seconds behind. So as they enter lap 2, 54 seconds, slowing down to 55 as they come through their hairpin. We would expect the chase group to maybe take a few seconds out of the leaders on this second lap, but it depends on what Javier Gomez has in his mind in terms of tactics and plans. If Gomez is out the front, then he will normally have something to say about the pace, which is currently being dictated by the great man himself. Javier Gomez leads the World Triathlon Series race in Abu Dhabi. It's fantastic to see him back, and he's at the front of the field right now.
I think the fact that this front pack is now so segmented is really testament to some of the guys that have been riding on the front, because the fact that Pierre Lecour from France and Aurélien Raphael are 20 seconds down already just goes to show the pace that it must be pretty on at the front here. So we can just see now the riders catching up with Ben Canute, who made a little bit of a half-hearted effort. Oh dear.
That's Vian Sulvout, who's got mechanical issues now. The third of the South Africans. Looks like a brake has lost its function. Let's see if Sulvout can restart here. Well, he can. Did he hit the deck, Vian Sulvout? Yes, indeed he did. Oh, on the hairpin. And I think that knocked his senses, and it was a while before Vian Sulvout was able to put himself back upright and continue on his way, but he's bravely got back on his bike. Gomez is in really good shape in the early stages of this cycle. He swam well. Gomez will fancy his chances here, especially as the pace has been pretty strong, and the chase group, the Mola group, have yet to really make an impact.
Yeah, Gomez comes into this race as the athlete with the most podium finishes on the World Triathlon Series in this race, and he has 36 podium finishes in the World Triathlon Series. He won that race. There we go. We can see on our screens 57 seconds now, that chase group, which contains Mola, Alaza and Murray. So at the moment, the lead group doing some good work. This is our lead pack. That's Tom Bishop on the front, and Tom's done some great work on his bike. He's known very much as a strong biker. A lot of the guys talk about him, but he's had a great swim today. Talking with Brendan Purcell, the performance director, just a few weeks ago, he said that Tom Bishop has had a great season. He's trained really, really hard, and he finds himself in an absolutely fantastic position here with his breakaway group of 10 athletes.
Yeah, Tom Bishop was a toss-up, wasn't it, between Tom Bishop and Gordon Benson to go and join the Brownlee brothers in the Olympic race. It was a battle that Bishop ultimately lost. Gordon Benson not racing here. Bishop is the 25-year-old, originally from Derby, now based in Leeds, a history graduate from the University of Leeds. And Tom Bishop is currently the best placed of the British riders, and he's leading them through at the end of lap 3, ahead of Javier Gomez and Greg Billington, and Berger and Luis and Skuman, and the second American Ben Canute, then Van der Stel, Polyansky and Andreas Salvesberg. The front pack has been whittled down to 10, separated by 3 seconds as they head out on their 4th lap of 10. So now we'll see the next group. Now it looks like the Christian Blumenfeld group has made a bit of an impact. Is Mario Mola with these guys? He's further down the field. So Mola, we think, is another 25 seconds back. This should be Mola's group now. Yeah, so Pereira, Mola and Lecour, then Briffaut and Alaz. Zacchaeus Richard Murray's found himself 50 seconds off the pace. Not an awful lot of good work being done by that chase group, which has now become the 3rd group. They've really done little damage. It's sort of roughly remained at around 50 seconds. So that's the Mark Austin group, which also contains Mario Mola, Richard Murray, and a lot of serious contenders once they hit the run. But for the moment, they're not serious contenders because they're too far removed on the bike. As the graphic shows you, it's 53 seconds now. Chase group trailing the leaders by 53 seconds at the turn just beneath Ferrari World.
Yeah, I think
possibly what happened there was the guys that were in the front group, the Mark Austins, the Blumenfeld, have been caught by the second pack. The second pack, well, rather would have been a third pack, because you had that small little drop off from the front pack. And I think what's happened is the third pack's worked very hard to catch up Blumenfeld and Mark Austin, and whether they'll just sit up a bit now or whether they'll really keep the pressure on, it's here where they could lose time, and it's here where this front pack have got to work really hard.
The leading group of 10 approaching the end of lap 7, which will leave them 3 more circuits of the Formula 1 motor track to complete. And no change as far as we're aware. Andreas Salversberg of Switzerland out in front. Igor Polianski, Greg Billington and Tom Bishop. Then Berger and Gomez and Canute. And Vincent Louis, the second of the French. Marco van der Stel of the Netherlands. And Henry Schoeman of South Africa. So Marco van der Stel in that lead group. The Dutchman, 25 years old. He recently raced in the World Cup event in Cape Town that we've talked about, finishing 14th there. Second in the Dutch National Sprint Championships late last year. Having a good race so far, Marco van der Stel, but does tend to go backwards when he's hung up his bike. Now, checking on the time difference with 3 laps to go. Despite Fernando Alaza's efforts, the Alaza-Mola chase group, which also contains Mark Austin, has really failed to make an impact.
Yeah, it certainly has. It stayed around about the same that time, didn't pull anything back at all. You know, it gets a little bit demoralising, I think, at this point when you've got 3 laps to go and the coaches will be out there shouting the time difference, and some of those athletes working really hard in the second pack. When you're not pulling back any time, I think this is a point in the race where you've got to dig really, really deep.
Now the ride is almost done. After an hour and 20 minutes of this triathlon, the lead group is approaching transition for the second time. The dismount line is that red line across the track. Canute cut that quite fine, actually, Ben Canute. I wonder if his front wheel was over. No red flags raised, so it's legal so far. And now they trot up across the carpet to find their running shoes and their allotted spaces in the transition area. Vincent Louis gets one shoe on and the other follows. Javier Gomez is struggling to get one of his shoes on. He's got to take his helmet off. He's away now. Wasn't the sharpest transition we've ever seen from Javier Gomez, and Tom Bishop follows him out of transition. But of the 10 who entered, Gomez was the penultimate man to leave. So that wasn't the best transition that Javier Gomez has ever executed in his career, but they are now bunching up again. Now then, there are 7, I think, who have got away, and 3 who were left with work to do as the second group, the chasers, arrive. Let's see if Mola can... Mola's the first one in on the dismount line. The red flags stay down, so no infringements from any of the athletes so far, as Mola really raises his game and starts to sprint towards his place in transition. Alaza's not far behind. Mark Austin's come in as well, the second of the British athletes through at the end of the bike stage. Who's going to be first to rise here? It's got to be quick for Mola. It needs to be sharp, and it is for Mario Mola. He's the first one to sprint away from transition and goes to work now with Richard Murray in third on his way out of transition, third of that second group. And Murray and Mola will now, I'm sure, join forces and attempt to hunt down the lead group. Gomez, who was rather sluggish by his standards in and out of transition, is now full of running at the front. Javier Gomez strikes for leadership of this race and tows Henry Schoeman along for company. Vincent Louis currently in third, then Tom Bishop, and then Salversberg, Polianski, and the others are scrapping to try and keep up with this electrifying early pace that Javier Gomez has brought to this run stage.
Yeah, he likes to go out fast, but I think that it's important in this run, which is a tough run, that you don't blow too early. We saw the girls going out at, at a pretty steady pace.
and they then gradually wound it up. Ayueda from Japan, she went out really fast. She was chasing down the second pack and then blew a little bit. So I think it's important in these early stages just to bide your time a little bit. They've got that nasty little hill out of transition. Your heart rate's already high. You've come out on the bike, and I think that you've got to take it a little bit easy. Tom Bishop moving up into third place with Vincent Luis. A long way to go yet, but a good race from Tom Bishop so far.
So Mario Mola's got work to do. 88 seconds is the longest distance that's ever been made up from transition to finish. That was Jared Shoemaker back in the late noughties. But I don't think he had quite the opposition, the quality of opposition that Mola and Murray have today. Way out in front they have the Olympic bronze medalist Henry Schoeman, and they have the multiple world champion, one of the greatest there's ever been, Javier Gomez. But Mola, Murray and Joao Pereira are bouncing along nicely here, and there's purpose in the stride of Mario Mola as he and Richard Murray go to work. Tom Bishop has been as high as 5th in World Triathlon Series races. That was at the sprint event in Edmonton in the bitter cold of early last September, when winter arrived way too early. Bishop had his best result there, but look at him, he's mixing it up here with Javier Gomez. You can see the gap down the road. This camera angle is a little deceptive, but in the distance, top of your screen, you can see Pereira, alongside him Murray, and just behind Mario Mola. As Tom Bishop moves to within arm's length of Javier Gomez, and Henry Schoeman might not be able to go with them here. At the end of lap 1, Bishop and Gomez have got a bit of daylight ahead of Henry Schoeman. Remarkable running so far from Tom Bishop of Great Britain. He is running shoulder to shoulder with Javier Gomez at the end of lap 1. It's Gomez, Bishop, Schoeman is third, then Vincent Luis and Leo Berger. Igor Polyansky and Andreas Salvesberg are the next through, and we'll see how much damage Mola and Murray have done when they cross the line to conclude the first of their 4 laps. But Schoeman can't match the pace of Gomez and Bishop right now.
Wow, I am very impressed by what I'm seeing. Tom Bishop running an amazing race. It is early days. They've still got 7.5 kilometres to go, but at the moment he's looking very comfortable. And now, as we can see our chase pack coming through, we'll see the time difference, 52 seconds. They're pretty much, actually they've made nothing back, around about the same as when they first went out on the first lap of the 4-lap run course.
Hard work for Javier here. And Tom just drafting in behind him. Well, Gomez is used to running with a British triathlete out in front, but it's not normally this one. It's one of the Brownleys usually that Gomez and Alistair and Jonathan have enjoyed such titanic struggles over the years. Today, no Brownleys, but Bishop is flying the flag, and at the moment, he's going with Gomez. Well, Schoeman's been left.
Yeah, he has, and who's that he's got on his shoulder? He's got one of the athletes, the Vincent Luis from France, isn't it? He's running himself into 3rd position. Schoeman did go out pretty fast. Felt he went out with a lot of confidence, but this is a tough course. It really is. It's really breaking up all the athletes. It's demanding. It's got everything. It's technical. It's got the hills, and they would have had the wind out there as well today.
Javier Gomez leads round 1 of the 2017 World Triathlon Series here in Abu Dhabi. At the moment, he's got one man for company. It's 25-year-old Tom Bishop of Great Britain. They are our leaders, silhouetted against the Middle Eastern sunset here in Abu Dhabi.
I think Gomez will be feeling pretty comfortable. As you said there, Matt, he'll be going, hang on a minute, I'm used to a Brit, but it's not this Brit. So he'll know what Tom's capable of on the bike. He'll know what he's capable of on the swim, but, you know, very little is known of what Tom can do at this stage in the run World Triathlon Series race, because we've never seen him here like this before. Vincent Luis now broken away in 3rd position. He's left the South African Schoeman behind him, and Vincent Luis looking pretty comfortable. He had a tough year in 2016 with some personal problems. Didn't race at all, but he's a guy that likes to race, and I think it's great to see him back racing this early in the season.
Still no separation between Javier Gomez and Tom Bishop. In front, in fact, Tom Bishop has just moved ahead of the Spaniard now. Tom Bishop is dictating the pattern of lap 3. The Mola group, including Alaza, Pereira and Murray. In fact, Mola's struggling to stay with Alaza, Pereira and Murray.
Oh, he doesn't look comfortable at all, does he? That's not a common sight for Mola, that's for sure.
Yeah, Mola was looking lame, wasn't he, as he came onto the cobblestones there.
And they lost time. They were well over 1:10 when they went through there.
Gomez is trying to break Bishop here. Gomez has decided that he won't wait for the bell. He wants to have a crack for the front. And Gomez has moved it up a gear and has established a lead of 1.5 seconds. Nice move from Javier Gomez. Possibly not what Tom Bishop was expecting. Now, the 33-year-old, who was born in Basel but is very much a proud Spaniard, leads this World Triathlon Series opener as he gurns and grimaces through his paces here, and the lead is stretched. Has Tom Bishop got anything left? Is he able to counter this break from Gomez, or has Gomez gone too early with more than a lap to go?
Well, he's gone early. He's made a bit of a surge. It does look like a significant surge at this point. You know, there's a good sort of 25 metres between them. We can see Tom Bishop grimacing. What Tom's got to do now is just get his head down and focus and just not think about the pain. Gomez, I think, perhaps decided that, you know what, I don't really know what this guy's running capabilities are, so I'm going to go now. I'm not going to wait till the final lap, and that's exactly what he's done.
Oh, he's digging deep now, Tom Bishop. He's pushing really as hard as he dares, but the pace is falling away all the time. 15 seconds behind Javier Gomez now, and there's danger behind from Vincent Luis in third.
Yeah, but good to see that, you know, Bishop hasn't completely blown, because psychologically it's you can see now just under 1.5k to go. If he can just hang on, which I think he's looking hot, you know, but he's still I know it sounds ridiculous to say, he's still moving forward. The legs are still turning over. Let's see if he takes on any water. No, he's got his sights on the finish line now.
Javier Gomez has got a sea of lapped runners ahead of him. He will slalom his way through there and hopefully continue to progress up to take his first win since August of 2015. He looks pretty comfortable still, Javier Gomez. It remains to be seen who will end up in second and third, because there are various triathletes lurking. We saw Murray, we saw Alaza. Bishop is still clinging on to second position. That camera angle doesn't give you a really accurate impression of who's where, but I know that Murray and Alaza probably fancy a trip to the podium as they can see Vincent Luis ahead of them. Vincent Luis just about holding third. Tom Bishop is clinging on to second as Javier Gomez gets within 100 metres of victory in Abu Dhabi.
Wow, absolutely. Bishop has hung on. He's had Vincent Luis kind of not exactly breathing down his neck, but he's pulling back some time. But Tom Bishop has had a phenomenal run here, and he's going to make the podium for the first time ever in his career on the World Triathlon Series.
The noise levels rise to welcome a great champion who starts to celebrate now. One of the greatest of all time. Javier Gomez from Spain will win the first World Triathlon Series race of 2017. He knows which way to go. No point in turning right there, because he needs to go up the other blue corridor to find the finish line. He can ease down and enjoy the moment. Hopefully he'll raise his sunglasses and we'll be able to see the joy on the face of Javier Gomez as he crosses the line to win round one in some style. What a win for Gomez, what a comeback, and an unbelievable day for British triathlon and for Tom Bishop, who will finish in second position. Bishop home to take the silver in Abu Dhabi, 13 seconds behind the great Javier Gomez. What a day for Bishop. His best ever performance in the absence of the Brownleys. British triathlon has a new star to celebrate, and it's also a podium return after a lengthy absence for the likeable Frenchman Vincent Luis, who comes home to complete the podium places. Third for Luis, second for Bishop, the win for Gomez, another Spaniard in the top 5 as Alaza pips Murray. Murray coming home into 5th now, Alaza just ahead of him.
It's great to come back this way. I mean, still made a few mistakes in the race. I didn't swim very well. I had a terrible T2, but I knew it was going to be a very tough run. And with Tom, it was very tactical. The third lap, we slowed down a lot, and I was trying to save energy for the last lap. And I made my move with about 3K to go, and it worked well. So I'm really happy to be back this way.
I can't quite believe it, to be honest, but I had a plan. I wanted to swim as well as I could and just save as much energy on the bike, and I wasn't really sure how it was going to go. I mean, it's the first race of the season. I got into the run and my back was pretty sore, so I had to warm myself into it, but luckily I had kind of Gomez to pace me through, and I was just like, he's a good guy to follow, hang on to him as long as you could, and that kind of dragged me into second.
I was surprised. I mean, he was really strong on the bike, he always is, but yeah, he ran very well. I have to congratulate him because he did an amazing run, and it was made me doubt a little bit of how strong he was, so I was trying to save energy for the last lap, and luckily I had a little bit extra.
Johnny and Alistair they've set the bar for the British team alongside the women, obviously, and I look to those guys, and that's the pinnacle of our sport in the world, not just in Britain, and if I can get anywhere near them, then I know I'm doing a good job.
A superb victory for Javier Gomez in Abu Dhabi, and a brilliant day for Tom Bishop, finishing in second. A happy return to the World Triathlon Series for Vincent Luis, who finished third. Mark Austin finished in 14th position, Adam Bowden was 20th, and Grant Sheldon didn't finish the race following an incident on the 7th lap of the bike. An unbelievable day for Tom Bishop, sharing the podium with Vincent Luis and Javier Gomez.
Wow, Annie, what a race for Tom Bishop.
Absolutely amazing. I don't think any one of us could have called that this morning, but you know, he's a young athlete, he's only 25, but he's been around for a while, racing in juniors and under 23, and it's just so fantastic to see, you know, the work that he's put in, you know, really come to fruition, and to get a silver today here just behind Javier Gomez was something really special.
I love what he said. What did he say? Javier Gomez was pacing me. I mean, what a thought that must have been for him suddenly in the race.
Yeah, I wonder what was going through his head at that moment, you know, because he is an athlete that suffered with nerves and things in the past, and then when he was with Javier Gomez after kilometre 1, kilometre 2, and you know, halfway through the race, he must have almost been having a slight of out-of-body experience.
Great result for him right now. How does that help him going forward? Immensely, presumably.
Well, I think, you know, when an athlete has a breakthrough race like that, they've got to keep the momentum going, but I think he's proved to himself, he's certainly proved to British triathlon and the triathlon world, you know, that he's got something pretty special, and I think he's going to go into the next race with a lot of confidence.
And for Javier Gomez, coming in, back in the race with that sort of result, really, I mean, that must have been what he was hoping for.
Wow, I mean, you've got to have so much respect for the guy because, you know, he went through an incredibly difficult year because in the run-up to 2016, you know, he'd been incredibly strong, you know, up there with the Brownlees, you know, it was always between the three of them. And then 2016 was, you know, a bit of a disaster for him, really. And to come back in 2017 and take that victory very convincingly, you know, must really boost his confidence.
Tell us a little bit about the psychology between the two of them, because they were obviously trying to test each other out, weren't they?
Yeah, I think that Javier said it in the post-race interview, that he said, you know, I didn't really know what this guy had, because he said, I know he can bike, but I really didn't know what he could do on the run. So he said he was saving a little bit, but, you know, I think it was, at the end of the day, Javier Gomez's experience, you know, that kind of beats Tom Bishop.
Of course, third place, Vincent Luis, back in form again.
Yeah, brilliant. You know, again, another athlete that had a really tough year last year, and he looked like he was going to do something special at the Rio Olympics when he ran away with the Brownlees early on, but then he sort of dropped back and lost a few places, and he'd had most of the year out and had a few injury problems and stuff. So, you know, really great to see the young Frenchman, because I think, you know, he's an athlete that can really give something to World Triathlon Series. You know, he's a very complete athlete, very strong and very well respected by the other guys.
So it's shaping up nicely for the rest of the series.
Most definitely.
There is plenty more sport across the BBC this afternoon. On BBC Two, right after us, there's more from the European Indoor Athletics. You can follow the football on BBC 5 Live or on the BBC Sport website. if you're a triathlon fan, you are going to have to wait for round 2. It's sprint distance and it's on the Gold Coast. We'll have live coverage of both men's and women's races in the early hours of Saturday the 8th of April on the Red Button and on the BBC Sport website, and we'll have the highlights on BBC Two. So to get us in the mood, Annie, let's pretend this is the beach, the water is warm, the sun is out.
It's almost like we're there.
Goodbye for now.